Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to, if you're watching this on my Facebook group, welcome back to that as well. I want to do this video because I wanted to talk a little bit about what I do in my position as a digital media buyer. Um, Now, I want to, first of all, make this very clear that when I say a digital media buyer or pay per click specialist or social media manager, they're one and the same. Now, it may be a little bit different in terms of responsibilities, but the position in and of itself is more or less the same. So let's put that on the table. So when you're coming here to look for paid search positions, paid social media positions, social media manager positions, anything like that, I'm talking about the same thing. Now, in terms of what I do, let me give you a typical, explain to you what a typical day looks like to me when I'm at my job. So, as most of you know, I work remote, so I don't have to go into the office. And fortunately for my company, which is based out of um, Maryland, we don't have to go in because they right now as we are talking, there is a snowstorm that's going to be headed that way in the next couple of days, and so I'm very thankful that I'm not based out of the area to do that. What's interesting is I actually grew up in that area, so it's kind of funny how life works and it kind of comes full circle. But nevertheless, one of the first things that I do when I'm working is I pull metrics. That's a big part of my job. We pull metrics because we always want to be in the know of how our campaign is actually doing. The term that we use in the industry is called pacing. So when you hear pacing, that's what it means. It means that you are pulling metrics and pulling numbers to see how your campaign is actually doing. Because remember, one of the big parts of your job is to optimize so that you can get the most out of that particular campaign. You know, one thing we don't want to do is spend money needlessly if we don't have to. We want to minimize the cost and maximize the results for our clients. Okay, the next thing that I do in a typical day, well, actually, maybe not a typical day. There are certain days of the week that I'm in more meetings than others. What I love about my company is that they really respect our time. So they don't have us in all these different meetings randomly. And, you know, we're like, okay, well, we could have been working during this time, but you want us to take time of our day to be in this meeting. I'm not a fan of a lot of meetings, I'll be honest with you. However, when the meetings are necessary, like when we have to go over something or really lock in and discuss something, those meetings definitely make sense. So I'm in a few meetings over the course of the week. Some days are heavier than others. For example, on Mondays I have meetings, and then on Thursday I have a lot of meetings. So that takes up, you know, a few hours of my day. When I say a few hours, we're talking about maybe like an hour and a half because most of our meetings are anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. We're very good about keeping our time to a certain amount. One thing I really love about my company is that they really respect our time. So they give us time to actually get assignments done. In my previous company, I felt like we always didn't have the bandwidth or the time to get things done, and they wanted a quicker turnaround. So that's really good about my current company. And if you know, want to know more about me, feel free to go to my LinkedIn profile. You can view the company I work for and everything I've done up to that point. Okay, the next thing that I do besides being in meetings and pulling metrics is I actually get the work done. I set up and optimize campaigns. And that takes up most of my time because it requires time for you to go and do it. What's cool about my job is that my manager doesn't put more on my plate. So let's say if we know that we have campaigns that are launching on the first of the month, typically she's going to have me to start on that a week prior or something like that. Whenever we get the materials in, because that's another thing too. When you're talking about setting up campaigns and optimizing campaigns, that does involve other people. So, for example, we work with an accounts team, and the accounts team talks to the client, and the client may say, "Hey, based on last report, we think we want you to optimize this or that." And so now that ends up going either to the creative department where they may have to come up with a whole new image or ad, or they say to us, we want you to um, write new copy. And that's another responsibility I have, which is I write ad copy. And, I typically, that could take up a few hours to do. It just depends on how much copy they want me to write and how effective it is. Again, the cool thing about writing copy is I'm not the only one looking at it. So if you one of those people that's a little apprehensive about writing or something like that, you will not be doing this alone because someone else has to look at it. As a matter of fact, in my company, we have about 2 or 3 touch points. So I might initially write it, then my manager looks at it, and then someone in accounts look at it, and then after that, the client looks at it, and they get the final, we get the final okay from them whether they like the copy or not. So it's a pretty organized process. I'm not out there by myself trying to think of the most amazing copy that's ever been written. It doesn't work that way. So after writing copy and things like that, I'm assisting members with different duties that they may have. Now, keep in mind that a lot of times uh, weeks are going to be different. As we get closer to the first of the month, it gets a little bit busier. But once those campaigns are running and things like that, it slows down. So some weeks are busier than others. So, when you're talking about working for an agency, some weeks you're going to put in more time. It's just what it is. And then sometimes you're not going to have really much to do. And during those times, what my company advised us to do, we don't always do this, but they advise us to, get training in, get our certifications, things like that. Now, certifications, I've said this, before, they are not necessary to get into digital marketing. It's not like you're working for IT or something like that, where you have to have certain certifications in order to get your foot in the door. It's not the same sort of situation in digital marketing. However, certifications look great. They help bolster your company's or agency's credibility. So they want many of us to get certifications so that we can go up for certain distinctions that are offered by Facebook or Google or things like that. Google partners, Facebook partners, things like that. So again, not necessary, but they're good to have. And a lot of times, once you start working for an agency, they are going to require you to get a certification at some point. Um, and I would say after that, getting training, which is along the same vein. We may be working with a new software, or we have to be told, well, these are the new protocols. So you spend some time training. So these are the things that I typically do. Oh, and one more thing that I do, I set up what is called unique tracking mechanisms, which is UTMs, and those basically allow us to follow, um, have people. We set up links so that when people click on those links, we can gather the appropriate data to make the decisions about what we're basically doing. So a UTM, for example, could be if someone clicks on this, we can know exactly through maybe Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics how long a person stayed on a website and what was their activity once they went to that landing page or website. And by the way, landing page or website is the same thing. It's the same. I'm just using a little bit of industry terminology because if you're going to do this, you have to learn a few um, industry terms. Which reminds me, I'm probably going to end up doing a video or at least posting something on my Facebook group that's going to show you different terminology that we commonly use in digital marketing so that, when you talk to a potential interviewer, you will know the jargon in which we're speaking about. So you don't seem confused or out of place or anything like that. So, with that being said, I guess I'm going to stop the video here. Again, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, as well as go take a visit to my Facebook page, become a member. The group is Digital Marketing Career Starter. I share a lot of tips and information there, and I think that it's going to take you really far. Because remember, guys, at the end of the day, this is about helping you enhance your lifestyle. I know a lot of you don't like commuting to work. I know a lot of you right now who are in places, let's say in the United States, is getting hit with a lot of snow or inclement weather. I know you don't want to be dealing with that. As a matter of fact, one of my dearest friends got in a car accident recently. Now, she is safe, so no worries there. However, her car was wrecked. And so now, what do you do in that situation? You didn't necessarily have uh, the expenses or just the mental capacity to deal with something like that. So when you're working in these digital marketing jobs, on the bad news is you don't really get too many snow days or inclement weather days off. However, you don't have to deal with it either. So that's one thing that's really good about it. And again, like I always say, you can work anywhere you want in the world. I'm currently right now in Cancun, Mexico. I've been here for a few months and I love it here. Who doesn't love the fact that you can go to the beach anytime you want? I could work from the beach if I chose to. I never do, simply because when I'm in work mode, I'm in work mode. However, when I get off work, I can run right to the beach if I choose to. So it's a great lifestyle to have. So I encourage all of you to definitely think about this. And I want to give a shout out to my brothers out there who travel the world. My challenge to you is, okay, it's good that you save your money and you run down to Colombia or even Mexico, DR, wherever you go to, have a good time. But I'm going to challenge you to learn a skill that will allow you to work anywhere in the world, so that it isn't just a vacation, it's actually a place that you can live in. Because when you live somewhere versus vacation, you get a whole different experience. You get more ingrained into that particular culture, that area, and you learn a lot more about who you are and what it is you're trying to do. So, again, thanks again for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.